I've got 3 photographs on the wall behind my desk.
Okay.
The top one is a hawk. Bottom one is a picture of where the sands of Namibia meet the ocean.
Okay.
And the middle one is an orca.
Ah,
And I've got a lot of orcas. And orcas are the prime predator on Earth, right?
Yeah,
They're,
yeah.
they're smart. They,
Right.
they everything. But they also certain times get beaten up.
yeah.
I think the important thing for your listeners to be able to think about is, are you the orca?
Yeah.
Are you are you an apex predator? Are you going out there? There's too many people that get back on their heels.
Right. And
And-
waiting for something perfect.
And say,
This is the growth game. We're having such a fun day, and we're getting towards the afternoon, and we still have a whole bunch of energy. So we're ready to continue to broadcast and come up with lots of super interesting things that we can pattern match for growth in the staffing industry. And we've got special guest star Patrick Morin, as in he will put more in your bank account.
thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's the softball what Patrick does for my life.
Yeah, exactly. It's like bringing those companies to market.
I love that. I love that. So, second time guest, we had an
Yeah.
awesome time about last year and
did.
talking about M&A, and you've been doing this a long time, helping companies buy and sell, and you're one of those gurus in the industry.
Thank you.
I walk around
My
staff.
kids don't think so.
Well,
but,
you know what?
it's
Have
a-
them come chat with me a little bit, man. All I know is you walk around staffing industry analysts, and I see this group of people, and who's at the center? Patrick's at the center.
Thank you.
I mean it. I love it.
Humbly, I appreciate that.
I love
It
what you
always
do.
seems to be true.
I love what you do. No, it is. You know what? Good people attract good people. And when you do what you say, and you've been doing it a long time, people love coming to you and talking to you. And that's obviously what you do. So
Thank
very
you.
good. Cool stuff.
And
So
I'm honored to be back. So
good.
definitely.
You are actually my first time second guest.
First time, second guest,
Yeah.
still get a t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you a T-shirt. We're gonna call it "More in Your Bank Account."
Nice.
Got a hashtag out.
You might something out of
Yeah,
it.
there you go. There's your new social media campaign.
My new tag.
Yeah, that's your new tagline. So, Patrick, we talked about wonderful things the first time about setting up your business for sale and things you should be doing, all that. What I'd really love to talk about today, which is the focus of our podcast here at Staffing Industry, is have you seen some specific things in 2024 and going into 2025 that our audience can pattern match
Yep.
that really will help them grow? I mean, I'm a big believer in you're either growing or you're dying.
Yeah.
And so, talking about growth, what have you seen that has stuck out to you?
Some of the better things in terms of growth, as we talked about in a previous podcast, there's 2 ways to grow your company. It's organically and by acquisition. But let's talk organically.
That'd be great. I'd love to see if you've seen some interesting things.
Yeah, taking a look at it. The one thing that we're seeing in the market more often than not
Mhm.
is people are looking at their entire customer list.
Okay.
And they're really looking at their customer concentrations,
Mhm.
and they're looking not only at what they're selling, but the
Mhm.
depth of the selling. How
Got it.
deep is each individual account?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so they start to focus in and saying, okay, it's not just that we have this much coming out of this account.
Yeah.
But where are we relative to everyone else? And then putting that focus
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
The second thing is that when they look at the customers that they serve,
Yeah.
there's a concept of own, and then a concept of compete for, and then reach.
Yeah.
And where we're seeing a lot of growth in the market is people are deciding what they're owning.
Got it.
And that is,
And then going deep.
yeah, going deep into it, and then saying, all right, I'll compete against these other types of, against my competitors in these markets.
Mhm.
And then lastly, leaving the reach way out there.
Yeah.
And the problem is that you start getting stunted on growth when you're reaching for everything
Mhm.
and not owning or being an expert in
Yeah.
a couple of things.
Got it.
And that's one of the things that we're seeing most now.
That's interesting. And I had an earlier guest this morning who talked about the same exact thing, that,
Really?
focus, focus, focus. And the minute that they don't have a broad depth of an executive team to diversify, that they diversify too early, they lose focus and they lose value in their business.
Well, it's because everybody thinks that all revenue is good revenue.
Yeah.
And it might not necessarily be.
Right.
Some revenue could be bad revenue only because
Mhm.
it's taking you away from your core element.
Yes.
And everyone knows that specialists, if you think about like brain surgeons or
Mhm.
cardiac surgeons or pitchers
Yeah.
in baseball, those that specialize typically tend to get paid more.
Right.
It doesn't mean that that's all you have to do in this space.
Mhm.
What it means is that when you're focusing in on that which what you want to own and then move out from there,
Yeah.
it allows for more sensible growth.
Got it. So, do you have any specifics, any specific examples of where somebody has made that strategic effort and said, here's my list, here's my customer base, and I'm going to go deeper? I'd love to see if you have any specifics or any anecdotes that you've
Yeah,
observed.
obviously I can't name
No,
names,
no
right?
names,
Right,
no
but
names, just specificity around what they've done or
right,
ideas.
but they've actually carved off parts of their business.
Okay.
And as a matter
Oh,
of
I
fact,
like that.
I've got a client right now that is carving off a specific segment of his company because
Okay.
it doesn't match that internal core. And so
Got it.
this thing has become a distraction.
Got
And
it.
because it's become a distraction, they've actually said we're going to take this body and
Mhm.
we're not only are we not going to try to grow it, we're
Mhm.
going to get it out of our
Got
organization.
it.
Another idea, which is we're starting to see more and more legs on, is that if you do decide to go and reach into other markets,
Mhm.
is keeping those things somewhat separate. And
Mm.
because you're keeping them
Okay.
separate into separate entities,
Got it.
those P&Ls can ultimately float up to something bigger.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about it is that when you do go to sell it, it's its own entity and you can move that
Nice.
on. And
Nice.
you're not really cross-pollinating from the perspective of these guys are distracted because it's a different element.
I like that. So really diversification, but in either separate geographic or entity, separate P&Ls.
Yes.
I would imagine that certain buyers may just come into a larger enterprise and say, listen, I just don't want to be in this space. So it'd be a lot easier to just divest one section of the business and then buy the core.
We hear that all the time. We hear that.
Interesting.
I love this side of the business, but we don't want that side of the business.
Got
That's
it.
happened at least 3 times in the last couple of months.
Wow.
Where they said, yeah, we don't really want to buy the whole thing. We
Got
only
it.
want to buy this piece of it. But going back to the organic growth part of this,
Yes.
which is even when you're starting to incent your sales team, that's one of
Mhm.
the things that we're seeing is in terms of diversifying that growth away from even a customer concentration.
Yeah.
Putting a target on anybody who is not named, fill in the customer concentration. And
Got
saying to your guys, saying, okay, I'm going to increase your sales commissions if you're bringing
Mhm.
me in new logos.
I like
If you're
that.
bringing me in this new, if you're bringing me a new target, if you're bringing me in a new adjacent type of business.
Excellent
And
advice.
and so what you're doing is you're bifurcating the value
Mhm.
of something that is necessarily core,
Yeah.
and you're allowing it to grow out by saying yes, and we're stepping out to get something even bigger.
Very, very cool. Excellent. Are there some other things that you've done when you go in and review? Because I know you go deep. I know
We
when
do.
you advise on a company, you want to know it. You want to know what's going on before you take it to market.
Yes.
So when you get in there and you get under the hood, are there some things that you look at and you go, wow, all of them are there's a commonality. Is there a commonality that says this is a successful organization that I know somebody's going to buy?
Yes. Yeah. A couple of things. Number one, the teams are uniformly the highest performing organizations have the best performing teams underneath the CEO,
Got it.
right?
That
Underneath
first
the
layer of
that first
executive
level,
management.
they seem to work together really
Got it.
well. The other part is they're also very data driven.
Okay.
They understand their numbers.
Mhm.
They understand margins. They understand the margins that they're going after in terms of new clients or current clients.
Got it.
They understand the risks that are going along
Mhm.
with taking on a certain client.
Okay.
So they're also protecting, and let's just call it like industrial. They're protecting their mod rates by
Yeah.
looking at,
Right.
the incidences that they're having with this new client over here.
Sure.
They typically
Don't
tend,
just sell for sales sake.
Right.
You got to look at markup, but oh wait a minute, how much? What's my comp cost going to be on this thing?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and what is going to be the impact of bringing on necessarily a bad client
Right.
on the team that's internal.
Hmm.
So if you look at it, it's the people, it's the numbers, and
Yeah.
then it's really the deal selection that they're focusing in on.
Yeah. The client selection, essentially.
Yeah,
Right.
it
Yeah.
is.
I love
And,
that.
and I think it's funny with a lot of the shifting that we're seeing in the market right now.
Yeah.
Some companies are starting to struggle and they're laying off
Mhm.
workers and other things. And what we're finding is that the strongest companies are getting stronger in tougher markets.
Got it.
If
More
talking
resilient.
yeah, but you're also talking about growth. I've actually had clients come to me and say, "We are California experts.
Yeah.
We are New Jersey experts."
Got it.
And all the regulation that you're seeing within New Jersey or California,
Mhm.
Illinois, New York, some of those tougher states.
Yeah.
Those are people who are flying directly into the storm.
Yeah.
And they're saying, we're not going to run away from it. We're not going to exit this market. We're going to go at this market.
Put the head down,
Yeah.
figure it out, continue to go deeper.
And what's astonishing is that these companies are really outperforming because they figured out all the difficulty that they have to overcome.
Interesting. I like that. That's very well said. Very cool. So, most entrepreneurs in staffing, at some point, whether it's the first year in, the 10th year in, or the 20th year in,
Yeah.
most do think about enterprise value creation, creating wealth. It's as far as industries go, I've seen more wealth creation in this industry than I've seen in many other industries that I finance, and I love it. I think it's awesome. I've seen people come from
infinitely scalable.
It's infinitely scalable,
Right.
and it's if you've got grit. Like, I've seen forklift drivers go, I can do this better, and have moved up to be excellent entrepreneurs.
One of the biggest staffing companies in this country was started by a welder. Guy,
Oh, I love that.
He's on the East Coast. He was a welder, and he was on a temporary assignment. He got into it, and he realized, you know what? I can do this, and I can get my friends to do this.
That's so cool.
And now, hundreds of millions of dollars later,
Wow.
right? It's not about your education. It's
Yep.
not about your background. This is a perfectly economically democratic industry.
Yeah.
Right. You
True.
don't have to come from the aristocracy in order to do really well.
Right.
As long as you have a business model that works, that's
Mhm.
quick and that's fast. And to the premise of your question, we're not building these things to hold on to them forever.
That's right.
At some point, you're going to exit.
That's right.
Right? At some point.
That's right.
Even if it's the ultimate exit.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to do is to leave behind a mess. You
Right.
want to leave behind a company that's ticked and tied and can be sold.
Yeah.
And can be moved on.
Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should bifurcate the audience and just say, maybe give them some of your very valuable advice on what are some of the things they should be doing now if they ever want to sell. I don't care if it's 1 year or 20 years from now. Are there specific things? If I'm a startup,
Yes.
are there specific things that I should be doing?
Absolutely. One of the things that you want to be constantly aware of is the growth model. And I'll give these to you in an order.
Okay.
So when you're looking at your growth model, you say, all right, what's my year over year and how am I expanding those markets? A lot of times people just kind of ride on the river. They're like a leaf on the river. And
Yeah.
oh, the market was up. Oh, the market was down.
Yeah.
Well, the most successful companies are the ones that actually can kind of prognosticate, can see in the future, and that they are always improving. They're
Got
improving
it.
their delivery, their communications, all of those things, ultimately
Mhm.
to the growth of their top line and to
Right.
the growth of their margins. And one of the things that
Mhm.
you've got to be able to protect
Mhm.
is to protect that growth vector and
Yeah.
to be able to protect those gross margins.
Ah,
You don't take on new business,
yeah.
even though it shows a bigger top line, if it's
Mhm.
if it's not going to be accretive to
Got
your
it.
gross margins.
Right.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I'd be always looking at developing the team. No matter what, no matter how,
Mhm.
you're always educating the team that's underneath you.
Right.
Smarter, better. Send them not just to industry conferences,
Yeah.
send them to other people's industry conferences.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's what I call changing up the conversational DNA.
Okay.
And that is when you're bringing in ideas from other
Mhm.
industries into the
Yeah.
staffing industry, then what ends up happening is that those ideas have never been tested out in this industry.
Got
and it's
it.
completely new and completely different.
Got it.
And you become a different beast in a
I
different
like that.
competitive environment.
I
Yeah.
like that. If you're servicing wholesale or distribution or logistics, go send them to some of those industry events to speak that language.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, even if you're interviewing your a new employee,
Yeah.
let's just say that they've been in the workforce for 10 years.
Right.
And let's just say that they work for 4 or 5 other different companies. One of the things that I don't see very often is people interviewing that person saying, tell me about your past company. What were they exceptional at doing?
Yep.
And let's just say it was McDonald's, or let's
Yeah.
just say it's Kmart, Walmart. It doesn't matter, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Okay. What is the one thing that they did better than anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
How would you apply it to the staffing industry?
I like that.
Now what you're doing is you're also changing the conversational DNA, the competitive
Yeah.
DNA, and you're making them feel valued because you're saying your life experience when you
Mhm.
bring it into our company
Right.
is significantly different
I love that.
because that idea is changing the way they compete.
Mhm.
Now you are unique amongst peers.
I like
and
that.
you already have access to those individuals.
Yeah, your life experience adds value to my organization. What is it? Cross pollinate new ideas, creates a more, it sounds like a more robust
Yes.
enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
You-
So making sure you're not giving up margin, you're not just for the sake of growth, you're continuing to grow even in the challenging times. I love that. Yeah, everybody's worried about, oh, all of a sudden, oh no, we might have a little recession. It might, we may not grow. It might go down by 1 or 2%. I'm like, forget that. If you're not growing by 10%, then what are you doing?
Yeah,
That's the way I always look at it.
it's true. And going to the top of the chat here, when you start looking at your customer base, the ones that are
Mhm.
really growing and growing well,
Yeah.
and they're really examining it, they understand their customer cost of acquisition.
Yep.
They understand. They take the salaries into account. They take all of that into account, saying, what is it costing me to get this customer? And what is the lifetime value
Right.
of each one of those customers? This space, there's not a lot of companies that actually do that.
Got it.
Well, they're just constantly grabbing for things.
Right.
They're not necessarily going, I wonder how much it
Yeah.
cost me to be able to get them.
Got it.
All right.
Lifetime value and how deep can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are what some of the best companies that I see do.
And
They
create
do
the
it
most value.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're year one, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're year 10.
Yeah.
You can be either way.
That's right.
As you're getting a little long in the tooth,
Mhm.
as the company starts to get older and bigger and wiser, you want to make sure also that your business systems are flowing throughout the entire organization,
Yeah.
because that ultimately is the scalability that
Mhm.
allows it to go. What are the policies, the procedures,
Right.
the cultural touch points?
Yeah,
all
not
of
just
those things?
technology, but actually the frameworks.
That's right.
Yeah, I
That's
agree
right.
with that.
And you're also looking at having a 2-year time frame. Every owner out there should be looking at a 2-year window,
Mhm.
no matter what. This is what's going to be, I expect to happen in 2 years. And
Got
it's a
it.
rolling 2 years.
Got it.
Because you never know. One of the worst things in the world that calls that we get is, I want to sell now.
Right.
Right. It's
Right.
like, okay, there's
Tough.
something wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But if somebody comes to me and says, I want to sell a year from now, I want to sell 2 years from now,
I like that.
now, and we get engaged, now it's different.
And
now
now you can retool it and really help them and be a real advisor.
yes. And
Yeah.
if you think about it, somebody comes in and says, I want to sell my company right now, and we're right in the middle, let's just say that they are heavy LI, let's just say that the customer that they're supporting has to deal with a lot of aluminum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Aluminum.
Not such a great time to be talking about it.
All of a sudden you're saying, oh, really, you're going to be in the middle of this process when we've got tariffs going on and every other thing going.
Yeah.
But if you time your entry into the pool,
Yeah.
so much the better.
Yeah.
And you can only do that with the planning.
So if I've been at it a while and I'm seriously considering an exit, I want to create some value for my family, maybe invest in some other businesses. I really want to exit my staffing company. Okay, is 2025 a year to do it with the current uncertainty?
So
Or how do I view the current uncertainty and the decision that, yeah, near term I want to exit?
yeah, first off, let's get a premise of something.
Okay.
Right? Up markets and down markets, Porsches still sell.
I like that.
Okay.
That's
Up
a great
markets
tagline
and
right
down-
there.
Yeah, it is. If you are operating a
Mhm.
top tier company, if
Yeah.
you are operating a really high end company,
Mhm.
that company is going to sell, and it doesn't really matter what
Yeah.
is going to happen.
Got it.
Your multiple may be tweaked a little bit, but
Mhm.
the fact is that the better the company that you run,
Mhm.
there's always going to be a buyer for that.
I like that.
Okay. So now let's go to the second part. If we take a look at the last year and a half, M&A was down at historic levels.
Right.
I mean, it was just really,
Really tough.
it was rough.
Yeah. Did you pay your mortgage, Patrick?
Sorry.
Okay. I just want to make sure everything was all right.
We did okay.
Okay.
We did okay. We did all right. But even in those with that down market, all of this energy and
Mhm.
all of this momentum is starting to build.
Okay.
Everyone should think of markets, both economic, political,
Yeah.
and even M&A markets,
Yeah.
as breathing.
Got
It's in and it's out.
Uh-huh.
Right. And you can only hold your breath for so long. You can only exhale for so long.
I
You
like
only
it.
have it. So what ends up happening is that as you start going through these economic cycles,
Mhm.
you start getting a buildup of what we call dry powder.
Okay.
And dry powder is the money sitting on the sidelines
Ah.
waiting for these opportunities.
Got it.
Right now, we're probably at about $2 trillion.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
A dry powder
Wow.
in the economy as a whole, not
Right.
necessarily just for staffing,
Mhm.
but in the economy as a whole. But
So
you
there's
also,
pent-up demand
there's
for good
it's-
assets.
and even if you go out to the floor here,
Mhm.
you're going to see people going, "Hey, what have you got for me to buy? What have you got for me to buy?"
Got it.
And you can hear it. And so what that means for people who are thinking about selling, Does it mean that this is the optimal moment? Maybe, maybe not. Right now, we got a little bit of turmoil going on,
Sure.
but the moment is arriving.
Got it.
And more importantly than that, right? Take something from the martial arts.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a black belt, the number one rule for being a black belt is never fight.
Right.
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 But always be
Yeah,
ready. Right.
Always be ready.
Always be ready. Always ready to go. And if you prepare your company to always be ready to be sold,
Mm-hmm.
then and have that plan in place and know who your advisors are and you know what's going down the path, you can to some degree time it.
Yeah.
Such that you're going to be able to get a better result as a result of it.
I like that.
And we're going to be coming into a strong market.
I like that. And when you say coming into a strong market, you're a two-year horizon guy, right? So
Yeah.
2025, 2026, you expect it to be really good.
Yes.
Does that does that even go in for the next 3 years? Do you see a really good 3 years?
I see it as being, we've had such a protraction in dour economy
Yes.
and everything else. I do see it coming up.
I feel the same way.
There's going to be some political changes that
Yeah.
are going to impact individual industries
Yeah.
within staffing itself.
Right.
Right. I mean, right now, skilled trades is so hot.
Yeah.
Right now, medical is really coming back with a roar. Technology is coming back with a roar. Even light industrial, which has been getting, kind of beaten up
It has.
recently. The fact of the matter is, at some point we have to inhale. At some point we have to exhale.
I like that.
And
You're seeing good positive indicators across the board in those areas.
I am not one of the doom and gloomers.
Me either.
I'm just not.
Me either. I'll be honest. My client base. I've been hearing so much negativity, and I'm going, either my clients just are, unique unicorns, or there's something more going on here. And I agree with you. I actually feel we're entering this transitionary. Everybody's just trying to figure out what's going on. But I'm very positive for the next couple of years. I think we're gonna have a couple of great years.
You see, it's funny. I've got three photographs on the wall behind my desk.
Okay.
The top one is a hawk.
Yeah.
All right. Which I appreciate for personal reasons. The bottom one is a picture of where the sands of Namibia meet the ocean.
Okay.
And the middle one is an orca. And I've got a lot of orcas. And orcas are the prime they're the prime predator on Earth. Right?
Yeah.
They're smart. They
Right.
they everything. But they also certain times get beaten up.
Yeah.
I think the important thing for your listeners to be able to think about is, are you the orca?
Yeah.
Are you are you an apex predator? Are you going out there? There's too many people that get back on their heels.
Right. And wait for something perfect.
And say, oh my God, the sky is falling, or this is terrible. Instead of just looking and saying, where am I going to win?
Yeah.
How do I win?
Right.
Because there's
Be an orca.
Yeah.
love that.
Go and be aggressive.
Yeah.
Go find your niche and do it.
That's awesome.
And too many people are acting out of fear instead of acting out of boldness.
Yeah. I love that.
And it's a scary thing. And fear is eliminated by one of two things, right? It's either a plan or it's results.
Yeah.
If you've done something 1,000 times, you're pretty sure you're going to be able to do it 1,001.
Right.
Right. If you've never done something before, then the plan is what gives you that confidence to say, I've really thought through all of the possibilities here.
Yeah.
So if your listeners if they've not really built a strong business yet, get a plan.
Yeah.
If they've already got a plan, start getting it and start realizing that every time you have a win, you're strengthening your own core.
And execute on it and continue to strengthen every single win and get there.
And it's
Be an orca. I love that.
It's not Pollyanna.
No, I agree.
This is very simple.
Put your head down and get at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you think about the Navy SEALs, and the Navy SEALs, when they are not deployed, they are training.
That's right.
That's it.
Training hard
all the time.
Yeah.
And when they go into action, there is a plan that goes with it. Everything is planned. The timing, the height, the swim, the currents, the temperature, everything. Why wouldn't we do that about our economic engine, our staffing companies? I don't understand why.
Yeah, I agree. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for being a guest again. It was fantastic.
Glad to do it.
And it was a great conversation. I really appreciate it. So, audience, that's another wrap from Miami, from the Growth Game podcast. If Be an Orca and Mr. Patrick Morin can put more capital in your bank account. Thanks a lot, audience. See you soon.